Music.
Reviews.
Chat.
Poems.
Comedy.
Writing. Interviews.
ELFM, it's radio, but so much more.
Hello and welcome to Vandal Factory. My name's Natalie Quatermass.
And I'm Henry Raby.
And together we are
Vandal Factory.
You're not wrong.
Well, was it just me? I'm just shouting it out.
Yeah, just you today.
Okay, just me. Okay.
I just thought I'd give you your moment, your time to shine.
And did I shine like the brightest star?
I've never been more proud.
Oh, excellent. So I'm a playwright and Natalie's a director and we do this radio show.
What more do you need to know?
Yeah. I'm always just like conscious of like people like, so who are they? Who are they?
Who are they and what are they doing? Yeah, we're those arty types who do lots of activism. So we thought we'd make a radio show that was about art and activism and about how the two worlds collide. And fueling those two worlds is two of our major themes, which is hope and anger. So at the beginning of every show, I like to ask you, how is your hope and how's your anger?
I'm feeling a good dollop of hope, I think. I'll talk more about it in a little bit, but I went to the Trade Union Congress demo in London against, well, the cost of living crisis, amongst many other things. And I'm always a little bit sceptical of an A to B march and a slog in London and how useful that is to the wider scale of organising. But I did talk to a lot of really interesting people. I did hear the old chants. I did wave a flag around. You know, I love me a good flag. So, yeah, I do feel a little bit like, cool, there are people out there that are like putting forward the fight.
So it worked in terms of just restoring you and giving you a boost. Because it is, pair of us have been on plenty of protests together and they can go one of two ways, and there's always that like slight excitement, nervousness before a protest going, oh, is it going to be good? Is it going to be good? Because you want it more than, well, just as much as making a political statement. It's about allyship, right?
Yeah.
And being something that nourishes you and keeps you going and makes you go, yeah, come on, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And you need a bit of that.
Anger-wise, same as always, fuming. Yeah. Absolutely fuming. Natalie, how's your hope and how's your anger?
Both pretty high. Yeah, same. Summertime, innit? It's a time when I'm looking forward. Tomorrow is summer solstice, so I do love this time of year in terms of the amount of daylight we get, and it does feel like a point where I'm maybe like turning a corner and looking towards the next 6 months and feeling quite hopeful about that. The next 6 months is going to be a big challenge for, you know, we're going to, as winter comes and the cost of living soars. That's going to be a real challenge. But I do feel at the moment like I'm involved in enough conversations about how we are going to do our absolute best to keep people afloat during that. You've got to be hopeful when you know there's a big challenge coming up, right?
So with your role of with Climate Action Seacroft, you've got a summer solstice event tomorrow, so you must be feeling hopeful that's going to nourish you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited. So we look after a community allotment down in Killingbeck, and there is a polytunnel and a compost loo, and anyone who's into allotmenting knows how essential these things are. And there's a pizza oven that's beautiful mosaic made out of a turtle, in the shape of a turtle, and so
not made out of a turtle.
And for I've mentioned on previous shows, you know, the last few months we've been doing a little local campaign called Get Growing Seacroft, encouraging people to grow their own food. And this is a bit of a celebration of that. You know,
Nice.
it's time where we can all get together. A lot of them have been people that we've either met in one-off events, or we've been people talking online. So it's nice to provide a space where people can come together. We're going to have pizza. We're going to have a plant swap. So if you've got too many cabbages but not enough tomatoes, then hopefully you'll get a pal that you can swap some plants with.
Nice.
And also just some sharing of poems and stories. And you're going to come down, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be down, mate.
All
Pop along.
right. Have a lovely time.
So, but we also attended an event together, didn't we? And it was a very nourishing event. It was a very brilliant event because we have played probably at least a couple of times Grace Petrie on the Vandal Factory show,
yeah.
and we finally got to see her in York at the fabulous Crescent.
Yeah.
And she was just everything I wanted Grace
so
to
much.
be, of just powerful protest songs, but humour and warmth and joy.
Yeah, completely. And it was shortly after, if not the day after our last show, where I'd been talking about my mental health and not being in a great place. And certainly before the gig, I was really knackered and was quite pleased that we got there about half an hour early, and I had half an hour lie down in the car
Yes.
before I could kind of face coming into the gig. So I was, really, had it been anyone other than you and anyone other than Grace Petrie, I think every bone in my body was like, just go to bed. You don't need to be here right now. So that was how I was going into that gig. And then the warm-up act was a musician called Jasmine Kennedy, who was so gentle and loving and
I felt like really genuine, because she
so
felt like a
genuine.
little, maybe, I don't know, like I've
Bit
seen
shy?
quite a little bit shy, but like then brought the beautiful music to bear, like the soul to bear. Yeah,
and it just felt like, as I was feeling very vulnerable, like as a performer, they just like brought me under the wing and went, come on now,
Come on,
it's going to
little
be
Jiggy.
all right.
Come
And
on.
have a little cry, and I'm just going to be ever so quiet and peaceful. So we play a lot of loud bangers on this show, but I thought it'd be nice to have some of their music that's a little bit softer, a little bit more beautiful. And this song is about the grandma passing away, and it made me cry and made me think of my grandma.
But you were already asleep, and they dimmed the lights. So I waited, 'cause I was hoping that you'd wake back up before visiting was over, and I could say hello, and you'd sleep a bit more sound knowing you hadn't been alone. But you tossed and you turned till the time was gone. Then I left and I cried for the entire walk home. I came back at lunchtime the next day, and that's what it was you'd ordered that you were pushing round your plate. You said you didn't really have much appetite, but you let me read the menu and suggest things you might like. And I guess it didn't matter, 'cause you weren't gonna eat. But if we didn't plan for wanting, we'd be accepting what that means. We picked a stupid combination, garlic naan and shepherd's pie. Then I got a trifle out my bag, you ate it with delight. I know now that you were dying, but then I took it as a sign. The way you looked at me and smiled with a soft, contented sigh. And maybe if I'd known we were running out of time, I'd never have done that 40 miles and I'd have made it back that night. But it probably doesn't help to think about that now, or all the other times and other ways I let you down. 'Cause this is it. This is all. It's this one precious life, a life that I will live with all the love that I can give. For you, this is it. This is all. It's just this one precious life.
We do have one precious life, Henry, and I'm glad I'm spending it with you.
Okay.
That was 14 Miles by Jasmine Kennedy. and I hope you feel like she's put her arm round you all as well, listeners, or certainly that we are putting our arms around you and giving you a little cuddle as you listen to Vandal Factory Radio Show. Meanwhile...
Never mind those warm cuddles.
No, let's have some fist punching the air, Henry. Go on, tell us more about your TUC demo that you went on last weekend.
So the Trade Union Congress is a huge organisation that is basically oversees trade unions in the UK. Not every trade union, because some are not affiliated to it because they want to be more radical and don't want to have to follow the very strict anti-trade union laws we have, but essentially that's what the TUC oversee. And I'm a member of a union called BEC2, which I always forgot what it stands for, so I had to write it down. It is the Broadcasting, Entertainment, Theatre and Communications Union, which basically is a union it'll be the union most affiliated with the BBC. It'll be union for so there's Equity, which is for actors, or you have the Writers Guild, but back to you'd find a place for stagehands, technicians, freelancers, costume designers, all this stuff. Even when I worked in an escape room at one point, they were like, yeah, that sort of counts within that sort of area. So it's very broad. It's also affiliated with Prospect, who are a union of sort of more science-led, which is sort of oversees things like engineers. So went on this huge demo. So I alluded to earlier, sometimes I feel a bit with large demos is sometimes who's it for? I am with a little bit of a theatre hat on. I'm like, who's the audience? And sometimes I'm like, well, no one's really seeing this. It's not getting reported. It feels like it's just shouting into an empty street. But there was quite a big crowd of people that we reached that were watching this march, that were clapping and applauding. A lot of people were supporting, and even people that are filming being really curious to be like, what is this? I think you are being a spectacle for people to engage with. I guess my issue is sometimes it's a lot of energy and resources to build for something, when I think, well, could that energy and time be spent with a really naive hat on, door knocking and organising in your workplaces? But it's all part and parcel of the movement.
Why is that naive? I don't think that's naive. It's important. We always talk about where our energy goes, and there's something about if there's something is a tradition, like protesting in A to B marches, and the more they've become regulated, and time goes on and on and on, it's absolutely right that we step back and ask, what's the purpose? What are we trying to achieve? And is this going to achieve it? And if it isn't, then let's reevaluate and look at a different method. That's perfectly... we should all be asking those questions all the time, constantly reevaluating how we work. Well,
I asked these questions of several lovely folks at the demonstration, and we're going to listen to some audio now. So get your placards ready, folks. Tell us your name and the work you do in the arts sector.
Hi there, my name is James and I do props on TV and film. I mean, essentially in London, the film industry has just boomed after COVID, which means that they're offering better wages at the moment, but the conditions, the schedules and the turnarounds have kind of somehow seem to have squeezed. So they offer you the one thing in one hand, which, the pay is good, but then the conditions always seem to be worse. So yeah, just in my experience in the last couple of years, I hadn't really thought about it until I talked about it here. But we end up signing contracts for this job. On this job I'm on at the moment, I've signed 3 contracts. So they give you a contract, then they void it. You have to sign another one, and you kind of don't think about it at the time. But in reflection, you're like, oh, it's kind of slightly messed up. The reason for the re-signing the contract was they didn't want to pay us for the bank holiday, which obviously, we put up with it. But I think talking to you and other people in maybe in more, if you're not freelance and you're in a more permanent job, stable job, you were saying they would have to be consulted. So you need a consultation before a contract change, right? But in the movies and the TV, they can just change the contract whenever.
My name's Alan Struthers, and I am a art worker. I work in a gallery, I do invigilation and do guided tours of the exhibitions. I think it's an amazing turnout of trade unionists. I believe that the only real route to power and changing anything in government is through the labour movement. So I want to support my union, and I want to support this kind of social movement more broadly, linking up trade union movements with all of these other kind of social justice campaigns is an essential part of achieving justice.
And I want to tell you, I have 47,000 members of Equity, and 80% of the people in the theatres that you march past today, they're union members. 70% of the people you see on television are union members. 80% of the people you see on film are union members. And they are members of the union, and they are members of our class. And that means that they share with you those struggles. Because merely a few weeks ago we were stood outside Phoenix Dance in Leeds, the P&O of the performing arts, who wanted to put our members on £100 a month. £100 a month. We turned up, we protested, and within 6 hours it was over. That's power. Is letting our members go on Cinderella. Is that any different from a seafarer in Dover or Kent? No, it is not. Because our members share those struggles, and so we share the answer.
My name is Zita Holborn, and I'm the Joint National Chair of the Artists Union of England. So we represent visual artists, largely socially engaged artists who are self-employed. So our artists have been the hardest hit by austerity, the hardest bit hit by the pandemic, because essentially all of their work was cancelled with immediate effect when the pandemic hit. And majority of our members are women as well, and so they're trying to balance childcare with working. And because they're community-based artists, it means that essential work that they were doing with vulnerable communities, with refugees, people with disabilities, and all sorts of other vulnerable communities was cancelled. So there's a knock-on impact, not just on our members, but also on those communities that we serve. Our members tend to be low paid because they're socially engaged artists. They're not the big artists who can sell a painting for £1 million, and very often they have to do a second job.
Neil Hope Collins, and I'm a lay rep for Prospect, the union in civil service, and I'm vice president of the union. And that's true. It is good to see there are other people that feel the same way. It's fantastic for feeling the solidarity. The danger is that people walk away from this and think the job's done. What civil servant employers are being asked to do is model 40% cuts so that Jacob Rees-Mogg at Cabinet Office can decide which ones are going to go and which ones aren't. And that's acknowledged. They know that means service cut. That is really scary. That is 40% of the people who provide the services that we all rely on in society are gone.
I'm a lighting assistant. My name's Cleo. It's been really cool to put a face to a name, and if you have an issue, if we the met person, someone who deals with health and safety and other little bits of better in prospect. It's been nice to put a face to a name and to be so if I have ever an issue or a worry that it's you that I talk to. It's not just some random name with an email. But it's been a good experience, and it's been nice to be part of it.
Fight back.
Yeah, nice one, Henry. That was some great audio. You could really capture the spirit and the energy and the anger that was on that protest.
Yeah, I think you sort of arrive and everyone's, well, I think people were amazed I'd come down from Yorkshire. So it was quite a London heavy one. It wasn't the biggest demo I've ever been on. It wasn't the biggest demo the TUC ever put together. And a lot of criticism was it'd been put together quite last minute. But I think like you still have that thing of everyone's like just arriving and like they're finding their block. You march with your trade union and your colours and finding where to go. But then and then the first bit, as I said, there wasn't really anybody there. It wasn't really an audience. But the music you can hear in the background is the Musicians Union, who brought all their samba stuff. And the Fire Brigades Union had bagpipes. So and there's loads of like great sounds going on. So actually, there wasn't much chanting. There was like just enjoying the bangingness of the sounds.
The vibe.
But then when you get towards Trafalgar Square, towards the West End, towards Westminster, you start to see more people. Probably like tourists. And that's when, as I said, but that's when you feel you're like, we're here. We are making noise. And that's when I felt there was that boost and everyone was there like feeling it and it's just good. Good to be among fellow people that are angry.
And it's just a principle, isn't it, of we're not going down without a fight. Yeah. And there is so much about the cost of living crisis where, as I say, like I'm just thinking about it's coming, how are we going to save people? And then it's important to remember that this isn't just inevitable. This isn't an act of God that just happens to be happening. No, this can be prevented. Yeah. And we need to always, always be shouting about how this doesn't need to be happening.
And a lot of people I felt were quite young. Like actually there's quite a lot of, I'd say, people in their early to mid-20s that were probably like came out of the boom of Corbyn's Labour, that are looking for somewhere to go, that are sort of getting unionised. I mean, I think COVID has helped a bit where there was a lot of this language of like join a union. Now I sort of have issues with that because it's not just joining a union, paying your subs once a month, it's joining and being active in your workplace. But certainly like that is a new culture of like unionising and talking about this stuff. And I think there's quite a young presence. And obviously we want to give a massive shout out to the RMT whose members are on strike this week and coming up, and I'm going to go down to the pickets on Thursday and grab some audio there. That's something that I will be doing with other people, but I think, dare I say, Natalie, it's time that I don't do something with other people in a big march, and it's time I did my own thing.
You put your left leg in, your left leg out. In, out, you shake it all about. You do the hokey cokey and you turn around. Henry? Henry, do you want to come? Henry! What's up with him? Oh, don't worry about him. He's doing his own thing.
That's right, folks. It's the time of the show when we hear a little Dave Jarman skit. Natalie has a giggle.
I might have that as my ringtone. Every time you call me, I have Dave going.
Well, funnily enough, Dave gets referenced in this poem that I'm going to read. He's in it. So this was a request, and dear listener, you'll find out why Natalie asked me to read this one later.
It's one of my favourites.
Oh, nice. I feel like I wrote it and then I left it to the side, and I feel like it still needs editing, needs a bit of work.
Okay, but Henry, feel free. I'll give you notes afterwards.
So this is called Would You Rather Be a Pirate or a Mermaid? And it goes like this. Would you rather be a pirate or a mermaid? Asked my mate Dave, probably bursting through the door of our shared house circa 2017. A question like a vape-fueled smokescreen to distract us from worries of rent. Or maybe the question was posed to the sound of sloshed tinnies and glasses. A glassy is a glass tinny. A thought experiment posed to me late one evening after a long debate about Tories, Brexit or the arts sector. Or maybe while we squished bodies and broths into the tiny kitchen, traded talking points and bowls and blunted blades. Would I rather be a pirate or a mermaid? From the get-go, my immediate answer is fuelled by Lego. Dreams of Long John Silvering, Shiver Me Timbersing and breaking rules. Yes, I would choose the barbaric high life of salty sea doggery. But the mermaidness is a life free from scurvy, and I might add freer, in fact, a flipping adventure complete with singing crabs. It's a question I have posed to friends since with sackfuls of responses. I have asked on podcasts this question to poets, and the more we chewed over the answer of below or above binary of seafarer or sea dweller, the more we hit upon harder truths of society, like waves battering shorelines, pirate or mermaid. The question confounded me to the extent I started casually dropping it into conversation. I asked passerbys and bus drivers, those serving me tea in many of York's independent cafes. I asked musicians before they hit the stage to play at DIY gigs, are you left or right, they would ask me. Are you wrong or right, my side or theirs, above or below stairs, bothersome burrowing questions, unrepentant binaries. Let the question rest like friendships rest, and then like friendships it might fade. The question might finally be put to rest. I could write up all my questions and drill them into my brain late at night, but my mate Hannah has already written that poem about late night questions and solved that problem. I have yet to find my fill of these questions, so I found faith in pirate or mermaid. I asked the postal workers whether they wanted plunder or to be deep down underwater. I asked shelf stackers and doctors, lawyers and lawmakers, priests and the Pope, the politicians and lords. I asked the king and queen, emperor and empress. I took that stairway to heaven, sauntered past spirits I should have spoke with, ignored the long dead and their wisdoms, ignored the recent dead and their pleas. I even foolishly ignored the pirates and mermaids, for God's sake, until I met the big cheese themselves and asked, hey, would you rather be a pirate or a mermaid? And God said, I would choose to be a mermaid with a career in piracy. I would choose a pirate mermaid. There we go. There's a little poem for you folks.
Oh, I love it.
So, great. Natalie, why did you ask me to read a poem that featured pirates and mermaids? Are we going to interview a pirate?
No, Henry.
Oh, no.
Not going to interview a pirate. Don't be silly. When you were off waving your banners and marching your marches, I was back here having a chat with a mermaid. A real live mermaid who happens to be called Lucy Meredith.
Hi, Lucy. How you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you, on this boring-looking afternoon, grey afternoon.
It's a pretty overcast Monday, isn't it? Yeah. So, like lots of us who were in creative and activists, you wear lots of different hats, and I've sort of bumped into you in various different settings. But things I do know about you is that you're a mermaid, that you care about benches, and like me, you work with climate action leads.
I do, yeah. Quite a few different hats, but they do tend to merge together because, I try to do things that I actually find interesting myself. So
yeah, it's a good place to start.
It tends to all kind of merge together. So I run Yorkshire Life Aquatic, which is a community interest company that is arts-based. So we kind of use mermaids as a catalyst because I'm an ex-synchronized swimmer and I love swimming and I love pools. And that kind of became a feature of our work. A lot of it is about around the sea. We did a kind of eco-activist exhibition in 2019 called The Human Aquarium, which was kind of looking at captivity, looking at whales and dolphins in captivity, and kind of sparked from me watching Blackfish. If you haven't seen it, watch Blackfish. Having a bee in my bonnet about single-use plastics as well. So we used a lot of single-use plastics in our art exhibitions and stuff. So it kind of went from there. So yeah, there's always been a bit of a connection between arts and activism and the environment.
I know people will be screaming at me going, did she just say she's a mermaid?
I did.
Expand on that.
So I'm an ex-synchronized swimmer. Before I went to drama school, I used to train with Brighton Swimming Club, which is where I'm from. Got to Sussex championship level, but then when you go to university, you kind of quit. You retire officially at the age of 19. Alan at Slung Low asked me to be part of this project called the Northern Big Board, and it was set at Shipley Swimming Pool, and he wanted some synchronized swimmers in the pool because the show was actually set at the pool, and I kind of realized how much I missed it. Decided I'd go back to it, and then I started working with Zoe Parker, who is a choreographer, a land choreographer, and we kind of started working on this hybrid between pool work and land work, and how do we do dry land synchronized swimming. So we have
dry land synchronized swimming. Yeah,
love it. We have a show that's going out. We're at Ripon Festival next week, actually, doing our dry land show.
Oh, great! Check it out. What's the date for that?
25th 25th. It's part of Ripon Festival. Apparently there's lots of Leeds performers going over to Ripon on that day, so it should be worth a good day out. But we did get nicknamed the Mermaids, so we thought we'd get some mermaid tails, try it out. And that kind of led us to the more eco side of it and thinking about using the images of mermaids to represent dolphins and whales in captivity and kind of bridging that gap towards people trying to understand what it's like to be caught in a tank kind of thing. So we've done some work in tanks, like filming. We've been doing some work with Wayne Sables. He's been doing some filming for us, did some photography work with Tom Martin. So just working with loads of really awesome people.
But it's a perfect metaphor, and it's such a, as you say, it's such a lovely hybrid between activism and creativity and performance. And Mermaids instantly sounds exciting and joyful, so that allows you to talk about one of the most horrific subjects that, you know, I think of whales in captivity and my heart breaks, and it always has done. I think back to Free Willy and seeing that as a kid, and then I don't know about you, but as a child I had a sort of, well, I suppose naivety that, like, now everybody's seen this film, it won't happen anymore.
Come on, Willie, I know you can do it, boy. I know you can jump this wall. Come on, I believe in you, Willie. You can do it. You can be free. Come on.
And that sort of, all the grown-ups must have seen this and sorted it out.
Gotta hate that whale.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it's banned in the UK and quite a lot of places, but America, China, Russia still have whales that have been in captivity for like 50 years that were kidnapped and stuff. The way we looked at it, we did some kind of research on human behaviour change with the World Cetacean Alliance, who were kind of advisors on the project. And it kind of, you get more out of people if you're not trying to shove something down the throat. So we were like, well, it is what it is. You can come and you can have a look at these pictures that are, you know, really pretty, you know, beautiful pictures and beautiful photography and artworks, and you can take away what you want from it. But we're not, you know, I don't want you to feel like it's been shoved down your throat, because people don't learn that way and they don't make life, you know, real change with that. So
from my campaigning days, I remember being told that people often need 3 points of contact to change their mind, which I really like, that kind of the idea of being, all you need to do is be one of those 3 points of contact. So don't try and change one's mind in that moment. You're just being a seed in that, and there will be other things that happen in their life that might make them take action or change a perspective. And that really changed my relationship with thinking about an audience as well, going, I do want my audiences to come away and start a revolution, but I'm all right with being 1 point of contact.
I saw our role was to create curiosity and thought and questions. And then, you know, there's plenty of organisations we then signpost to if you want to get more involved in a kind of more active way. But I didn't see that as my kind of role.
Yeah.
Because I'm not Sea Shepherd or people like that. So, and I don't live anywhere near the beach. So it's kind of hard. It's quite hard to kind of go, how do we explain this in a way that's in a landlocked city like Leeds?
Yeah.
How do you make people care about that kind of thing? It's harder.
And so did that start, or were you already interested in environmental issues when you started?
I grew up in Brighton, so I've always been a little bit on the green side. Yeah, I actually work for Zero Carbon Yorkshire as well, so I do their marketing and comms and things. And I think, you know, because, you know, as an actor, as a performer, you're not going to make your full living from the arts. So you kind of need to be a little bit more of a jack of all trades. And so when we started the company, I kind of had to learn how to make websites and promote things and do marketing, as you do when you've got a micro business. And so then I started doing that for other people. So I specifically, it came about that it's been carbon charity. So it's Zero Carbon Yorkshire my role in Climate Action Leads is more to do with housing, but that's because I work for a community-led housing organisation as well. So, but that's, you know, that's covering things like retrofit and things like energy bills and the energy crisis, which is obviously huge at the moment. So, so such big subjects.
I know, yeah. Your poor little brain. No wonder we're tired.
Yeah. Then I've just done a project with Leeds 2023, the City of Culture project. So I've been working with Bramley as a community. So we were doing My World, My City, My Neighbourhood project, which was inspired. It's a co-production project, which we're kind of carrying on. It's officially finished, but I don't see projects like that. You know, if you started something with a community, you need to carry that on.
Yeah.
And we've been working in Bramley for 7 years, so we had quite a good grounding. So we did a project called We Are Bramley Acts of Defiance, which was kind of inspired by all the things we'd seen in Bramley that were quite defiant and where the community had come together, like the I call it the Stay and Sit campaign, but I know it's not called that. It's basically the shopping centre in Bramley the new owners removed all the benches from around the shopping centre, so nobody had anywhere to sit, which is obviously no good for older people or people with mobility issues that want to have a sit down while they're shopping. And so the community got together and brought their own seats, and for 6 months brought an extra seat for somebody else, and they all sat there for 6 months every Saturday until the benches were put back.
Amazing.
And most of them are back, not all of them. There's still a little way to go, I think. But
round of
things
applause
like
for
that.
everyone in Bramley. That's awesome.
We're just making, you know, if you think, well, the authorities maybe aren't doing anything about that, we're just going to make it happen. Mm-hmm. And it's the same with Bramley Baths, which is where Bramley Mermaids are based. The pool was going to be shut down, so the community said we're not having that, and started a very long and, you know, quite an in-depth campaign to save a swimming pool, which is now community run.
Amazing. Fantastic.
Yeah. I obviously I'm a little bit, you know, I do love a pool.
Yes, so close to your heart.
I think what I'd really like now is for like Bramley Bass is quite an eco pool, but it's still very, very expensive to run a swimming pool. And I know that at the moment there's quite a lot of pools, especially like independent pools that are struggling because of the energy bills. So what we need is like someone to come in and find out this amazing way to make all the pools like solar powered, or, you know, something like that.
Getting your Climate Action Leads hat back on and talking about retrofitting and
powering, you know, alternative sources of power for swimming pools that are really important things for people, especially if you've got like I've got a bad ankle, so I can't run, and I love swimming, and swimming is a sport, you know, an activity you can do without putting any pressure on your limbs and things like that. It's really important.
I have hypermobility and fibromyalgia, and swimming has changed my life. And I cried the first time.
Not be in pain.
And not be in pain and feel weightless. It was really emotional time. And I've had experiences when I was out in Palestine, where, again, not very much water, and water is a massively politicized thing, and controlled by the state of Israel, etc. So when there was a small swimming pool, and I could go in the female swimming pool, and lots of the women I was with couldn't swim, so I was just gently like holding them in the water and supporting their back of the neck and supporting the lower back and getting them to float for the first time. And that was intensely emotional, because that physical release caused an emotional release. That being supported by the water was one of the most powerful things I experienced, which you wouldn't necessarily you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, that's kind of, I suppose we class Yorkshire Life Aquatic as health and well-being as well as arts based, because we run a mermaid class on Sundays in Bramley at the Baths, which is
I've
for women.
got to come down to.
You should, if you very basic synchronized swimming skills, but it's super fun.
Oh, fantastic. And so, yeah, the theme that's coming out in a lot of your work that you're describing is the community spaces and access for people to have to benches, to swimming pools, to the right to be free if you're a whale. Is that, do you think that is a common theme in your work?
Yes, I mean, I'd say unusual spaces is quite a theme in our work. Like when we did the Human Aquarium, that was actually in what is now HMV in the St John's Centre, which is a huge space. And I think we wanted to kind of not be in an arts-based space because we didn't want it to feel like there was people who didn't feel comfortable in those spaces. So it was in a shopping centre, and it was odd, and people came and went, "What's going on in here?" And you're just like, "Well, just come in, have a look."
Amazing.
And I think it was quite important that it was in that kind of space and it was accessible. And I think it's really important to use these empty spaces. I don't know after COVID how many more empty spaces there is around the city or empty shop units, but those are I think it's much more interesting to use those kind of spaces than to go into not to diss theatre spaces at all, but I suppose we weren't doing theatre in particular, we were doing an exhibition, and it just felt right to do it in that kind of environment. So yeah, we use odd spaces. We Are Bramley was all set outside because of obviously COVID. It's been safer to do it like that. But the Bramley spaces, community spaces, have been really, really supportive and help, letting us hold meetings and places there. So I'm not aware of all the spaces around the city, but particularly in Bramley, they've been awesome to us.
So what is it? What is it about Bramley then, do you think, that gives this little defiant attitude? What is it? Because I spend a lot of my time trying to cultivate that. I think me and Henry, we're called Vandal Factory. We are trying to encourage a defiance and a cheekiness and
I think we've just seen this natural spark of people coming together and making things happen. As part of the project, we had like it was like a postcard designed, and it was like based on the stained glass window at Bramley Baths, which is beautiful. And when I put up this picture in our group, we've got like a Facebook group, and we've got like nearly 300 members in it now of people who just really interested in what we're doing and want to be involved. And someone said, "Oh, that's really nice. That should be a mural in the park." And because of the very supportive councillors and all the supportive people around, we managed to do that and get it up within like a week.
Wow.
The artist came over, and it was graffitied a couple of times. And within like just people local people would just come down and paint it over. I said, every time they graffiti it, we're going to paint it over again until they stop. And it was just that kind of, I just love it.
Yeah,
it's been so brilliant. It's now like a really kind of, there's a running club. There's loads of running clubs in Bramley, and they have their pictures taken in front of this mural because it says like, "We are Bramley," and they all kind of like do team poses in front of it. So it's become quite a feature now for photographs and stuff, which is like really makes me happy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, congratulations. That's such a legacy. What song can we play for you on East Leeds FM?
Well, I suppose I should keep it in theme, shouldn't I? So I'm going to go for Somewhere Beyond the Sea by Bobby Darin.
Oh, and why have you chosen this song?
I think it's got great memories for me because we use it in some of our shows. And when we first started out doing like dance performances, it was one of the first tunes that kind of came to mind because it's so happy, and we've used it in quite a lot of our Splash Mob community projects. So
Splash Mob, amazing!
Of course.
Oh, Lucy Meredith, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me,
My lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing somewhere beyond the sea. She's there watching for me. If I could fly like birds on high, then straight to her arms I'd go sailing. It's far beyond a star, it's near beyond the moon. I know beyond a doubt my heart will lead me there soon. We'll meet beyond the shore, we'll kiss just as before. Happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go sailing.
The chat train is pulling into Nat's provocation station.
Ah, what a lovely interview. I really enjoyed that. What a lovely person.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a real joy to chat to Lucy. But now, Henry, are you ready to be provoked?
Bring on the provocation.
May you be provoked like you've never been provoked before. Okay.
All right.
So anyone who's listened to the other shows will have known that I've mentioned a couple of times a project I've been working on recently called Suitcase Stories, which is a storytelling project that's looking at working with young people in my local area, focusing on climate adaptation rather than climate mitigation. Come to the end of that project, and as is so often the case with arts, community, education projects, it didn't quite go to plan.
Because it went even better than planned.
Yeah, well, you know, it's always,
Yeah.
it ends up how it's meant to end up, right?
Yeah.
So it's originally meant to go into a school. COVID, low staff, that meant that couldn't happen. So Chapel FM come to the rescue, and we managed to get a few sessions in with teenagers in and around the chapel. And then numbers are starting to dwindle, and God bless them, they've all got a lot on their plate. So we decided to do an intensive week, like a play in a week style holiday project during Easter time at the Kentmere Centre. Again, I was thinking like younger teenage end is the primary kind of target audience for this. However, when suddenly you're running a course that's in a holiday camp, essentially, you've got your football, you've got your karate on, you've got your forest school on, you've got all sorts. You kind of just take whatever kid comes through the door, and they got younger and younger and younger.
It was like working with Benjamin Button.
Had you asked me at the beginning of that week, can you teach climate adaptation to a 4-year-old? I would have said no.
But my question for you, Natalie, is can you teach climate adaptation to a 4-year-old?
I can teach anything to anyone. Yeah, so I ended up with this core group of pretty young people. And I think my takeaway from that experience is working with 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess there was a core group that were 8, 9 years old. And I didn't say, oh, this is a climate change project. I said, we're learning about, we're telling stories about our world and ways that our world is changing. Let's create our world. So we rolled out a massive piece of wallpaper and said, let's draw our land. Whatever you want. Let's draw the world that we're going to put our stories in. And without me guiding or having to say anything, the young people started drawing storms and a huge sun and a rainbow and big mountains with a river going through it and a sea. And it occurred to me that even a 4-year-old has a sense, especially if this is Easter, right? So this is early April. We've just had a March where one day a 4-year-old is being asked to put the welly boots on and a big coat, and the next they're being asked to wear shorts and a t-shirt, and they have an instinctive awareness that that's weird.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
kids, without anything, that's almost within their bodies, and it came out in their story really without me having to prompt it at all, that we have this world where it's odd. The weather changes all the time. It's really confusing. And so it didn't take very much for me as the storyteller, the facilitator in the room, just go, okay, well, what happens if these storms happen? The rain was raining all the time. What would happen to that river? Or, this farm that you've drawn over there, what would happen if there was no rain? What happens to flowers? And they really get an understanding of that. And then we could just go, well, this is happening around the world. So let's have a look at these different places that people are surviving and adapting and changing. So we ended up writing an alternative version of Jack and the Beanstalk, where Jack goes around trying to sell his cow or his milk. I always forget which way around it is. But no one can buy anything from him because they've all got various problems. One's got drought, one's got flooding, one's not got enough shelter. And Jack comes up with various solutions of how he can help the villagers. So it was a really great project. And what I'd like to share with us today is not from the Kentmere project, but from one of the teenagers who, I'm going to say it, Henry. It's a Chapel FM legend.
Absolute grade A ledge.
Yes, mate. Yes, please. This is Mimi, who just blows me away in her passion, her articulateness, which is what I don't have right now. But she was one of the participants in the Chapel FM section, and it was a real pleasure to be able to catch her earlier and record some audio with her. This is Mimi's Suitcase story. Oh, thank you so much for joining us here today, Mimi. So you were one of my participants, one of my young people on Suitcase Stories, and I would just be so pleased if you could share your suitcase story with everyone here. So do you want to start with, let's start at the very beginning. Where did your suitcase story start?
Well, it started when I was obviously in a smaller town down south towards the ocean, and it was more of a village obviously than town, but I say town because it's easier. And I was just there with some friends and just walking around and coming up with inspiration for music.
Yeah, that was lovely because you were telling us about creativity plays a really important part in your life, and so what happened?
So we basically just ended up spending the whole day together, just walking around and going around with the different forests towards the back of the town. And then I guess we ended up going into this shop, which is weird to talk about now, obviously due to the events of this story.
Yeah, go on. So I guess it's maybe important to say that this is true. Yeah. This is a completely true story. So you went into the shop, and what happened next?
We just ended up walking around and seeing if they had anything interesting to buy, and then when they didn't, I obviously just left and just started walking around again and just continued exploring.
Yeah, so this is just a typical day a few years ago, or a little bit sooner, and what happened the next day?
So I just woken up because obviously I got home quite late, so I went straight to bed. And my grandma had told me that she got a phone call from my friend saying that the village had been flooded.
Wow. So this was the village that you had been in the previous day?
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit more about what went through your mind? What was that experience like? What was your grandma? How was she?
She was okay, obviously, because she didn't know the people. She hadn't been there. But for me, it was kind of strange because I was just there the day before, and now, it was gone, and it was all, flooded over.
And had you seen any images of what it looked like?
Yeah, my friends had sent me a few images from, a hilltop nearby. So, obviously, it's quite high, so they were, safe to stand there. And it was just, of the shop that I was in, and it was, collapsed and everything. And
wow. So that you shared that in one of our sessions as being that was a pivotal moment for you that had a big impact on you. Can you tell us about what was the impact that experience had on you?
At first, the impact was quite like sad because obviously the place it was flooded. My friends had lost their homes, but then it like had inspired me to like start looking into like climate change and why this is happening and how it's affecting us.
Okay, cool. And I was really interested when I first heard this story that your instinct was to teach yourself about climate change. And do you know what? Where did you first go to? If you start going, right, I need to know about this. Firstly, were you sure that it was climate change that was causing the flooding? Was there anything else that might have...
Obviously, I'm not 100% certain that you can never be, but
Yeah.
I feel like that is probably the biggest factor.
Yeah, so you had enough of a background knowledge to go, do you know what, this is something to do with climate change.
Yeah.
And then where did you go to start teaching yourself about the climate crisis?
I guess I started off just like searching up on like Google and seeing what I could find out, and then I started like getting in touch with people who like looked at climate change and how it affects us and how it could like not be stopped, but like obviously how we can do things to prevent it from getting as bad as it could get if we don't do anything.
Yeah, so some of those people that you got in touch with and got to know was everyone at Chapel FM.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us about the next stage, about how are you now active in your climate change journey?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I already knew most people at Chapel FM. Henry had just joined at the time, so there was the climate group that had just started up. And then obviously I've just since then just been like talking about it and trying to like talk to people about it who don't know much and like tell them how we could prevent it.
Yeah, and so it was almost a year later that we were in a Suitcase Stories session, and you were learning about what? Can you remember what it was that specifically kind of linked with your own experience?
I think it was this floating village on where it had been flooded over, and they wanted to like not use it, but then they like built it up and then like made it float, and then people like started using boats to like get to and from school. Exactly.
So there was this example that we found of in Nigeria where a slum was regularly being flooded, but the people had learnt to adapt and built a floating school, as you'd said, and that was just such a beautiful connection for me to have, that flooding was an environmental issue that had sparked your interest, and then almost a year later that we were learning about it happening on the other side of the world as well. And I think that's really interesting that kind of it can be a local issue. We know that flooding happens across Yorkshire and down south, and it's affecting people globally. So in some ways it's a really unifying issue. Awesome. I'd just love to know what else, if anything else was like your favourite bit of the process, or anything else that you can remember about those few sessions that we had.
I guess it was getting to like work on my Suitcase story and getting to like develop it, until I couldn't come anymore.
Yeah.
So it was great getting to work on it when I still could.
Lovely. That's so great. Well, thank you so much, Mimi. It was a pleasure. I'm so glad that we captured your story in one way, and hope to see you soon.
Hope to see you soon too.
Well, thank you for listening to the Vandal Factory show. We're having a little break for a couple of months because the Chapel FM Arts Centre, where we're based, are focusing on the Home From Home project, and then in the summer we staff here at the chapel work a lot with young people over August, so we'll be back in September with a whole new show. But please check out the previous ones, get in touch. We've got like websites, find us on socials, we're all there.
Have a wicked summer, everyone.
Yeah, like go and just like enjoy the sunshine and feel hopeful and spring forward in the face of global annihilation.
Store your beans up. That's what I'm doing this summer. I'm storing up my beans.
Do you know what? I think we need to end on a banger.
Because every single song you own is a banger.
It's time for Nat's banger of the hour.
Bangers.
Is it a banger?
Yes, it definitely is. We are at the end of our last show before the summer. Thank you so much for listening. We are going to end on an absolute unequivocal banger, and that is Borders by MIA. Why are we playing this, Henry?
Because we hate the hostile environment, and deportation of refugees to Rwanda is sick.
Yeah, it is!
Freedom, item, meet 'em. Where's your read 'em? This one needs a brand new read 'em. Weed and the key. Weed and the key into life. Let's beat 'em. Weed 'em smartphones, don't beat 'em. Borders, what's up with that? Politics, what's up with that? Police shots, what's up with that? Identities, what's up with that? Your privilege, what's up with that? Broke people, what's up with that? Broke people, what's up with that? The realness, what's up with that? The new world, what's up with that? I'm gonna keep up on all that. Guns blows doors to the system. Yeah, fuck 'em when we say we're not with them. We're solid and we don't need to kick them. This is no south, east and western. Yeah, guns blows doors to the system. Yeah, fuck 'em when we say we're not with them. We're solid and we don't need to kick them. This is no south, east and western. Queen, what's up with that? Killing it, what's up with that? Slaying it, what's up with that? You goals, what's up with that? Being Bay, what's up with that? Making money, what's up with that? Breaking in the net, what's up with that? Love wins, what's up with that? Living it, what's up with that? Being real, what's up with that? Guns close doors to the system. Yeah, fuck 'em when we say we're not with them. We're solid and we don't need to kick them. This is north, south, east and western. Yeah, guns close doors to the system. Yeah, fuck 'em when we say we're not with